welcome to episode 236 of Fresh Air at 5. In this episode, we look at, with the help of podcasts, what is the point of education? What matters? Why does it matter? Can we have education without technology? That's one episode. How do we deliver and do education? That's from another episode that I listened to. And finally, at the very end of the day, you know what? How can we ponder and critically think about the use of technology in our days so that we can get more out of our lives? So there's a lot going on. Take a listen for yourself. Good stuff in here. So listen to some of the podcasts that are in the playlist and share this with your friends, because I would really appreciate that. And I think they would too. All right. Thanks for being here and have a fabulous week. I did. Okay. Bye.
I'm Anne, co-host of Transparency in Teaching, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter, coming to you every week from Abbotsford, which is about 45 minutes east of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to get some fresh air by walking about my neighborhood, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stolo people, the Simath First Nation and Mathwee First Nation. I consume podcast content while I walk, then reflect on this content in an unedited video, which I post on my X, formerly known as Twitter, channel every day. This podcast is the collection of the audio taken from those daily selfie videos over the course of a week, Monday to Friday. So let's jump into my listening and learning this past week. Hey, PLN, it's Sunday, September 19, 2025 in the evening, and it's stopped raining, and I was like, I should go for a walk. So I'm out for a walk this evening and walking around my neighborhood like I would in the morning, but doing it tonight and enjoying the fresh air. When you've been cooped up all day. This afternoon, I sat and I watched the Formula One race from Austin, Texas, and it was fantastic, and I sat on my butt. So this is me doing something about that and getting outside and going for a walk. While I walk, you know that I listen to podcasts, and I listen to episode 263 of the House of EdTech with Chris Nesi, as he brings us an episode called The Importance of Education Beyond Technology. That's a weird title, Chris, for the House of EdTech. And yes, but I appreciate your thoughts. Fantastic how you break down why education actually does matter. We know that it matters. Teachers, we know it matters. We know it matters, but do you think about the fact that it's about empowering our learners to be communicators and collaborators, creators, critical thinkers, and connected to the greater body of people beyond ourselves? If we can learn about how we can prepare and share things, that gives us agency. As we step into public spaces, we go out to a party, we can engage with those around us. This afternoon, as I was, before I came to do this and listen to this podcast, which you should go listen to, go subscribe to the House of EdTech and listen to episode 263 as your first one, because it will be inspiring to you. Inspires me. And the work that Chris does is not about technology. It's about connecting people and connecting us so that we can be greater together in our world and have a say in what does go on. Yeah, sure. I'm a science teacher. I'm a chemistry teacher. And my students come to my online course and they learn about chemistry, which is a content area. Yes, for sure it is. But through doing so, I am privileged to be able to interact with them and correspond with them and make a difference in their lives. It's about those connections, right? And you know, education, would we call it small E or big E? Where formal education, where we have our coursework and things like that, teacher student, that, you know, we are able to, on the vehicles of the subject area that we're teaching, engage students in a bigger conversation about what life is about. That, I think, is where the education is. All right, that's my thought for right now. I'm going to come back and talk about a special meeting. All right, the last thing for September 19, 2025. We had our bi-weekly Education Podcast Network podcasters meeting that is started because he's the founder of it by Chris Nesi, and he invites us to a meeting every couple of months. And today we met, and there was myself and Jeremy Jorgensen of Why Edify podcast, and Steve Miletto about Teach, Lead, and Learn podcast, and Mr. Nesi himself, the podfather of the House of EdTech and podcast PD with AJ Bianco. There's many other podcasters that are part of our network that I am a member of, and I'm thankful for my membership there. All right, we met, and it is about connection. It's about education. We get together because we're committed to being part of a group and the connections that we can make, and we challenge each other, and we learn from each other, and we listen to each other as we talked about, what are the pain points of our podcasts? What's the pain point of doing what I'm doing right now, and how I put together my podcast? And for me, it was about sometimes the seeming lack of consistency. Okay, I walk every day. I walk often, not every day, but why do I not do the walking at points, And so we talked about that. It was great to be in community this afternoon. It was inspiring and uplifting. Jeremy talked about his podcast and about the need for community. And go take a listen to Why Edify, because he talks about a community that he has started called the Strong Teacher Lounge. And it's on an app, a tool called School, which is a tool that merely allows us to be connected. It's kind of like Facebook, but it is different. It's like a closed community, and you got to be accepted to be in that community. And so how can we be connected with each other? We have to be learners. And if we're not in a posture of learning, then it is hard for us to engage others and have curiosity for what others have to share with us. All right, there you go. So the Education Podcast Network monthly or bi-monthly meeting happened. It's fantastic. And if you want to get in on that conversation, you should join the Education Podcast Network and have a podcast. So, that's another bigger thing. If you want to have a podcast, talk to the podfather himself, Mr. Chris Nesi, and he can probably help you get started. Or me, or Jeremy, or Steve. We could probably help you. All right, that's all I got for tonight. Happy Sunday evening, and it's the beginning of conference week for me, and lots going on prepping for conference. Okay, bye. Hey, PLN, October 20, 2025. It is early in the morning. I woke up super early and laid there for a while and then thought, let's go for a walk. It's a nice day. It's high overcast, not raining, and it's about 11 degrees Celsius. So it's quite nice right now. And out for my walk. Actually, I think it's 8 degrees Celsius. It's a little cooler than it was last night when I walked. This morning, I listened to episode 13 of the Nerducators with Chandler and Brian as they talk to us about we fixed the school system. You're welcome. And they talk about the importance of educational systems and our educational system that we are in, and particularly in North America here, and how and what goes on. Alternatives to the regular system, such as Montessori and home schooling and unschooling and PBL and other things like that. The AI school is a new thing. So alternatives to the regular classrooms and schools, and how they have put together a plan for the perfect school. And if you're interested in understanding a bit more about education and why education, take a listen to what they have to say. Chris Nesi on his recent podcast, episode 263 of the House of EdTech, talks about a similar idea. So I think this is an idea this week about what is it about education that matters so very much. Growing connections, making it relevant, creativity, speaking into curiosity, having students want to instead of having students, instead of students having to, I want them to want to be there so that they can make a difference and grow themselves. All right, Chandler and Brian, thank you so very much. There is so much in here. And like they said, if you got a lot of money and want to support their new school, they'd be glad to talk to you. So reach out to them, send them money, and they're going to get started. And I'm going to watch, see how it goes. All right, see ya. Bye. Hey PLN, it's Thursday, October 23, 2025. It is the beginning of conference weekend for me. My PETA Fall Conference is in the town just across the river to the north of Abbotsford at Mission, BC. And I'm excited that it's kind of the home conference, like you're playing on the home court. It's not my district, but it's pretty close. And I get to sleep at home this weekend, which is great, and do all the conference things with my conference exec buds and put on a conference for educators in our area. Excited about this. It's going to be great. All right, this morning as I'm walking, and it's between downpours, the weather coming for the next couple weeks is just wet, and it shows on the app. So I'm out walking right now, 30% chance, thankful, and that it's not raining on me, and it's 9 degrees Celsius, overcast right now. This morning I listened to episode 200 of the EdTech Throwdown. Eric and Nick, congratulations on this milestone. They talked about how it's like, they're so busy with presentations and all the things they're doing that they haven't had time to celebrate. But I'm celebrating with you right now. And I think you said 213 earlier that you're going to have the big celebration, or maybe 227. But anyhow, it's just down the line. They're coming with, they'll have a celebration episode, probably reflecting, something like that. Hey man, why don't I jump on and be a guest for a moment, or you collect thoughts from guys like me that listen to your podcast. All right, this episode 200 is called is Gemini the ultimate educational educational AI tool? And they break down what they understand about Gemini and how it fits into the Google workspace and allows them to do many things, all the way from making Google gems, all the way from what is it? How do you find it? What can you do with it? What can it do that other tools, menu-driven tools, can do, and that you can do within the confines of your Google workspace and working with students? It's part of the app suite if it's been turned on in your district. My district, it is not turned on because we are not a Google school district. We're a Microsoft school district. So, the things you're talking about are probably transferable skills. I got to see if Copilot can do these things for us in my district. Maybe not yet, but maybe they will. So we'll see. All right, gents, have a fabulous one. It's take a listen for yourself, because regardless whether you're a Google district or not, there's things to learn about what AI can do for you and how you can think about using it. And they have some great ideas in there. Okay, guys, bye. One more thing for October 23, 2025. Listen to Teachers on Fire, a recent episode that Tim put out. And welcome back to the podcasting chair, Tim, with your Saturday mornings and then sharing the audio from that with us. Fantastic. And you met with Marcus Luther recently, and I was like, Marcus Luther. I'm like, I've heard that name. That's because Marcus Luther is a podcaster, and with his co-host, I can't remember his name, but they are they're the Broken Copier podcast, and they bring us great educational thoughts. Marcus Luther also has a Substack, which I'm learning about, and I just subscribed to Substack, so I'm learning about this platform about sharing information. And in this episode, Marcus and Tim talk about a recent Substack article about that Marcus wrote about 4 ways to uplift students in your class. And he teaches English, and just how could we uplift students in the midst of our classroom and in our day, just relatively simple things that can just encourage students. I'm not going to get them in the order that they were presented, and I might miss one of them or so, but it has to do with things like highlighting student work and, asking a student if you can take a picture of their work and then put it in your file for other reasons, such as sharing with other students or for reflecting and showing as exemplars and things like that, and just going, hey, your work is really good. Could I save this, right? And just that's pretty cool. Another thing is to, when you're having a class discussion and we're writing notes about a topic, when you're having this discussion, someone says something and has an insight, pause for a moment and say, okay, everybody, I want you to write down what so-and-so said, because that is honoring to them. And they're like, whoa, man, really? I just said that? And people are writing it down. So that's kind of cool, right? Let's take a quote from what he just said. So that's one of those things. Kneeling down beside a student and talking to them about their work to honor them, and just say, hey, I noticed that you're working really hard doing this, right? And I think, oh yeah, this is a good one. I see that you're doing some great work. Who can I tell about this? And asking the students that question, because we assume that we can just tell their parents, and we go tell their parents, and do we have their permission to tell their parents? I don't know. But if we ask them, who would you like me to tell about what you're doing right now? It can be very empowering and uplifting. They talk about ways that you can have students journal about their writing journey, as well as the problem with AI in education and how it has taken the thinking away. All right, that's all I got. Thanks, Tim. Thank you, Marcus. Hey, PLN, it's much later on the same day of October 23, 2025. I talked to you last, it was early this morning, and now I'm out this evening. I got home from our conference prep, my PDEF Fall conference in Mission, and I was like, you know what, the weather is going to be changing and getting wet, really wet tomorrow morning, so I'm going to come for my walk tonight. I've already walked 22,000 steps today, and let's put some more on and then go to bed. So here I am, out walking, enjoying the evening. It is overcast and calm, about probably 12 degrees Celsius, and listening to the Easy EdTech podcast with Monica Burns. And she brings us on episode 342, an episode where she talks with Lisa Hockenberry about student project, helping students create audio content for their work in their classrooms. And how can students do this with simple tools such as Seesaw or Canva? There's ways that students can record their voice and explainer, things like that are readily available and doesn't take a lot of audio prep to be able to pull these things off. Having a microphone on a device, like a tablet or a computer, and having a microphone button that they can press, it's as simple as beginning to talk, kind of like I'm doing right now. And we can get a lot of information out of students about, their understanding about concepts, math concepts, that they might not be able to express on paper in written form, but they can talk about it. It helps boost student confidence for, public speaking in a low-stakes manner, because they're not talking in front of anybody, but they're talking to their computer, and we can listen to it later, and we can hear their great ideas. There's a lot of things going on as we can help our students get into creating podcast-like reports about things so that they can grow in their confidence. All right, take a listen for yourself to episode 342 of the Easy Ed Tech podcast with Lisa Hockenberry and Monica Burns. The last thing for October 23, 2025, season 6, episode 6 of Teach Happier, titled, Is It Time for a Breakup? Asks us to consider relationships. And those relationships affect our lives. The questions to ask are, why now? Nope. The questions are, what for, why now, and what else? And, as we consider relationships, we got to think about the cost and benefit of these relationships. I'm not talking about relationships with people. I'm talking about relationships with technology, and specifically the smartphones and devices that we carry around in our hands all the time, are with us all the time, and we engage with on a regular basis. Why or what for? Why are we picking up our phone, and what are we going to do with it? What else? Or why now? You know, what are we doing? Why are we bored and we got nothing else to do, so we pick it up? Or is there something else we could be doing? And then what else? What else could we engage in besides picking up our phone and scrolling endlessly? Connecting with people around us is important, but maybe those connections are with people that you have in your life and you connect with them through your phone. That's a good thing. But if it's just picking it up and watching YouTube and watching, useless things, maybe that's not good for you. So engage in the real world and engage in those around you. Make connections and make a contribution to society. All right, that's all I've got for this episode of listening to Fresh Air at 5 on episode 236. So thanks for being here, and thanks, Suzanne, for your work that you do. It inspires me. Okay, bye.
I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's like a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find some other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific episode podcast titles and episode numbers in the show notes, which are only a click or swipe away for your learning convenience. I've also started to put together a Spotify playlist of each of the episodes so that you can also take a listen to those specifically, and the link to that playlist is in the show notes. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brian Carr, BRYONCAR, or at Fresh Air at 5. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can be found on the Educational Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day. Get some fresh air before the day is out and take care of yourself, because you are worth it.